Hey, what's going on, everybody? So in this section, I'm going to show you an easy copywriting formula you can use for LinkedIn. Now, in this course, we're going to go through, many different examples of different type of posts that you can do on LinkedIn, whether it's video, text, photos. But I want to show you a very simple copywriting formula that I personally use for the majority of my content, right? Whether I'm making a video or whether I'm doing a text post or doing a photo or something like that. Essentially, I'm just using the same formula over and over, and most people actually don't notice because, they're different mediums of the way I'm doing it. But in reality, like the underlying story and format is pretty much exactly the same, right? So if I'm making a video about, how to cold call, for example, I'm using this formula. Or if I'm writing a little LinkedIn content where it's just text and a photo on, let's say, how to do sales prospecting, then I'm using the same exact formula, right? So by learning just one formula, you're going to be able to write many different types of content, and you don't have to learn. If you go on Google or you search it up, there's going to be many different formulas that you can use on LinkedIn, right? And sometimes it feels very overwhelming because a lot of different ways to write and create content. But I find that by just learning one really well, you can basically use the same one over and over and nobody will notice. So that's the purpose of this lesson, to show you an easy copywriting formula that I personally use myself to make majority of my content, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot of value from it. So here's how the easy copywriting formula is going to work. So the goal of creating content on LinkedIn is really just to engage targeted prospects and build familiarity. And we talked about this, right? It's just create content people are interested in. You don't have to go viral or be a LinkedIn influencer. You just have to create content that the people you want to connect with are interested in. And we're going to go over one simple copywriting formula you can use pretty much for all of your LinkedIn posts. And this formula works for written text, videos, white papers, like I just mentioned. So here is how it's going to start, right? So basically, for each piece of my LinkedIn content, there's going to be 4 main areas, right? Whether it's video, text, photos, it's pretty much always the same. Now, you don't always have to use this. Sometimes it's not necessary, but usually if you get stuck, just use the formula because it's much easier. So the beginning is going to be the hook, some kind of attention grabber that gets people interested to read the first sentence, right? Because if they read the first sentence, they're going to read the second sentence, and so on and so on. Once you have a hook, you basically just talk about a pain, a problem, something that your customer experiences, or a pain that your prospects experience, because people are really attracted to pain, right? Because if you resonate, or if the pain is accurate and it resonates with your audience, they're going to keep reading. Now, after you talk about pain, you're going to talk about a solution. So now that there's this pain, people want to know, okay, well, I have a problem. How do you actually solve it? Right? And so it's telling a story of, here's the problem you have, I understand, and here is how I believe I might be able to help you. And once you give a solution, then what you want to do at the end is you talk about why it's important, okay? And so let's go ahead and just go through this real quick. So like I said before, hook. Start with an attention grabber, something unexpected. Start by describing a problem or your prospect's experience, right? So it can be like, for a random example, it could be something like, most people are making cold calls completely wrong. And so if I start off, let's say, with a piece of content like that, people are going to be like, oh, well, I cold call, and what am I doing wrong? I want to know, right? Am I making this mistake? Right? Or I could say something like, one of the biggest mistakes I see people make when it comes to selling software is, and then I put whatever that mistake is, and it gets people who are selling software very interested, right? So there's some kind of attention grabber. And then from there, you talk about a problem. So you talk about a pain, a problem, your prospect's experience, so you just want to think of it like this. What goals do they have in their business as whatever they do? And what's stopping them from achieving their goals? And that's basically what their problem is, right? So basically you want to focus mainly, in general, if you're not really sure what problems people have, you just focus on this. It's either people want to make more money, save time, or make things easier, right? Usually when it comes to business and selling business solutions, this is it. Helping people make more money, right? Driving more revenue, save money, cutting costs, save time, because time is very valuable. And if you save time, you also save money, which just makes a process just so much easier, right? Instead of going through a painful process, just, give them something easier that they can just buy, and makes their life so much better, right? So that's usually the problems that I would focus on. And then You just want to think like, okay, what pains are keeping your prospects up at night? What are they thinking about? Like when they go to work, what are they dreading to experience, right? So for example, let's say, you're selling a cold email software, and you know that a lot of small, medium businesses are using Gmail to send their cold emails, but they can't follow up. They don't know their open rates. They don't know their response rates and things like that. And it's just super annoying. And that's a pain for a lot of small, medium businesses. So that's why there's so many email software where they're like, look, why would you do it on Gmail when you could just automate the whole thing and you can let the software do all the work? And so that solves the problem, right? So whatever it is you're selling, you really need to understand your ideal customer, and you really need to understand what pains they're experiencing. Because if you don't understand their pain, they're not going to buy anything from you. They're not going to engage with your content because there's no reason to. But if you understand the problem that people experience, they are a lot more likely to read your content or consume it and then engage. From there, it's all about the solution, right? So you talk about the pain. What's the solution to the problem? How do you help? Do you have a software, consulting services? Do you sell some kind of coaching or training? What is it that you can do to solve their problem, right? And the way you want to think about it is, is there a clear value proposition that solves the problem, right? And can people imagine a before and after scenario, right? So especially this is really good for like case studies, for example, or customer success stories. You would say something like, okay, before this person met me, they were in position A, but after they, bought my solution and did XYZ, now they are in position B, which is so much better. And your prospects can clearly see a before and after, and they're like, okay, I get what this person does. So when it comes to solution, it could be one solution or a list of solutions, depending on what you're selling, right? And that's pretty much the solution part of what you're talking about. From there, you want to go into why it matters. So you can't just say like, this person wasn't driving any revenue, then they bought my software and now they're making a bunch of money, because it doesn't drive a story, right? So you have to talk about why it matters. Why is this solution better than other solutions? Why does this prospect need to apply these lessons right now versus just not doing anything? What's the difference does it make for the prospect to know these lessons? What should the prospect do next? You can also add a call to action, meaning if you want the person to send you a message or leave a comment or something like that, that's where you put it at the end. So by talking about the why, people get a lot more invested in the story, right? Because if you just talk about the pain and solution, it's not enough, right? It's too much of a commodity. If you talk about why it's important and you explain like, this is why it's important, this is why you need to do it right now, this is why you need to take action, or this is why it's important or significant in your business, then people, get a deeper understanding of what you're trying to communicate. They resonate with it more, and they feel more engaged with your content, and they're more likely to like it or leave a comment or share it or something like that, right? So this is how you basically tell the story. So whenever I'm creating content, this is what I think about. What's my hook? What's the pain? What's the solution? What's the why? And then, that's the simple formula. And each one of these can literally be one sentence each, or you can make it really short, or you can make it very long and in depth. It's really up to you depending on what you're trying to do and what content you're trying to create. But I typically just use this format for all of my content, which makes it super easy. And so when it comes to creating content, and I believe you have seen this slide already, whatever you're doing, whether it's how-to content, agitating a problem, solving it, customer success story, you're always using the same format. It's what's your hook, what's the pain, what's the solution, why is it important, right? Even if you're just talking about your opinion, it's the same thing. You got to hook them in, talk about a problem that you see, give your perspective, solution, and then explain why. So, if you ever get stuck, just use the simple LinkedIn formula. Of course, you don't always have to use it. You can use other formulas or just freestyle it, whatever works for you. But if you get stuck and you're not sure what to do, just use that basic formula, because I would say like 80% of the content I create, I'm using the same formula over and over, right? And nobody notices because it just feels natural, it seems right, and it just makes sense. So that's my advice to you if you want an easy way to do any type of LinkedIn content. And that's it for this lessons when it comes to learning the fundamentals, and I will see you in the next.